Harvey Castro, MD, MBA. With over 20 years of experience as a physician, entrepreneur, former CEO of a medical healthcare system, and author, I am passionate about leveraging AI to transform healthcare delivery and outcomes as a strategic advisor of ChatGPT in healthcare. I work with healthcare professionals and AI developers to create and implement AI adoption plans, identify innovative AI applications, and drive the integration of AI solutions. I aim to bridge the gap between AI technology, healthcare services, and strategic decision-making. I focus on ensuring the alignment of AI with clinical needs, data integrity, technological compatibility, and staff training. I also share my insights and vision through my books, publications, and public speaking engagements to increase awareness and inspire action on AI's transformative potential. Check out my AI and healthcare podcast called the GPT Podcast. Check out my books on AI, healthcare, and entrepreneurship on Amazon.com. Please follow me on social media under @HarveyCastro. I am on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for watching.
I'm a full-time surgeon, and I'm also sort of a geek of sorts. I love technology and how technology can really empower us. For me, it all started about 2012, 2013, because of this guy that you see on screen, Daniel Kraft at Future Med, and Lucien Englund, a good friend, that took this picture. This is the first crowd, and that's where I met Babak Parviz. Babak Parviz was the inventor of Google Glass. Google Glass was, as you probably all know, almost like the first smart glass or smart sort of AR device. And when I saw what the glass could do, I said, you know, we really have to use this in health.
What defines
I want you to hear this.
Possibility? A bright light in an endless space. For more than 3 decades, my job has been centered around certainty. The certainty of hope, of saving or improving the lives of those who trust me through surgery. Once you chase the ability to strive for certainty, the mind becomes restless. And that is the seed of possibility. Welcome to the world of extended reality. Through XR, we can understand the glory of our past, the pulse of our present, and the potential of our future. However, there's a greater possibility that XR presents. It can give us the ability to revolutionize the fabric of humanity, medicine, and education through technology. You can harness the potential and efficiency of your practice by enhancing your world through augmented reality. You can become a better learner through virtual reality by opening the doors to innovative simulations and resources, or interact with a hybrid world through mixed reality where the possibilities are endless. There's never been a better day than today to change our world for the better. My goal is to bridge the gaps in healthcare and education by instilling humanity and technology into the lives I touch. Join me in building a new world of possibility and certainty through passion, vision, and collaboration.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming. I know it's a minute early. I just wanted to start. Dr. Grossmann mentioned he'll be here 15 minutes after the hour, and I just wanted to start. We'll start in about 1 minute, and so just hang tight. And thanks everyone for coming in the anticipation of starting. everybody wants to start working on any questions that they may have, feel free to just jump on in and start putting it in the comments. We'll definitely be doing Q&As in a little bit. And thanks for starting here, everybody. So trying to one man show this, showing all these folders and then simultaneously trying to make sure I hit all these questions for everybody. So again, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and start this presentation as far as going through some of the presentations that I have on the subject. Number one, thanks everyone for coming. It means a lot to me, both myself and Dr. Grossman. We're excited that you guys are here, and I'm actually excited myself about hearing all the information that he's about to give us. It's going to be amazing. So let me start with my presentation, and he'll be here in about 15 minutes. And so basically the skinny, my name is Dr. Harvey Castro. I'm a physician in emergency room. And big picture, I love AI. I got into AI because I started playing with ChatGPT back in November, wrote a book in December about how to use it in healthcare. And ever since then, I've been kind of off to the races. And so why is this so important to me? Well, it's exciting. Obviously, we have AI, we have AR, we have VR, and I'm going to let him focus on those two platforms. And he's got some exciting information that I can't wait to share. But how is it helping us in the AI world? I'm going to cover that real quick before he joins us. And number one, when I look at this technology, I'm seeing we're going to be able to take care of our patients differently. Obviously, everybody out there is like, well, there's hallucinations. It's not the right product. I agree to some extent, but there's low hanging fruit. There's things that we can do today. Let me give you a quick example. This middle picture is of a coloring book. Basically, think of a child that you see in the clinic. Think of a pediatric child that may not understand medicine, obviously, doesn't understand asthma. And so pretend this child has first diagnosis of asthma, and instead of you discharging them, now you're taking that information that you normally would discharge them with, and instead of handing papers to the parents, what if I told you you took that same discharge instructions, plugged it into, let's say, ChatGPT for argument's sake, but obviously you could use Bard. There's other AIs out there, but for this example, I'm going to say ChatGPT. You feed it, it comes out now with an amazing output, and that output is basically how to talk to a 5-year-old. It's as if it was in a 5-year-old language, words that the child would know. But then what this company did is they went into Dolly, which is basically you could type and make pictures, and it made a coloring book. And so now this middle picture is supposed to illustrate just a coloring book that you would hand the child. And now that child can color it, and it's the picture on the right, and they can really understand, wow, this is my disease process. And now the parents can interact with the child. And instead of giving a piece of paper to the parents, you're actually giving them amazing discharge instructions, ones that they understand. The other part of this is us doctors. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes some of the stuff that we explain to our patients, we don't know how to convey that. And sometimes it could be just our brains that we're just so into the disease process and we explain it and we ask the patient, did you understand that? And obviously the thing they're going to say to us is, yes, I understand. And a lot of them, they're too shy. They're kind of don't want to explain like, hey, I don't know what you just said, but I don't want to sound like I'm dumb. And so big picture, use ChatGPT to personalize the way we talk, not just how we talk to them, but explain it to them. And not just the disease, but what if we explain it to the disease process in the example as you don't talk to a diabetic that just got diagnosed with diabetes the same way you talk to them as if they have had it for 20 years. Why not use AI to help us even talk to our patients? So these are things that are coming. Obviously, we're personalizing the treatment plans. We're able to use this technology to help our efficiency and effectiveness. So AI in healthcare, we can spend a whole hours and hours on this, but I honestly think it's going to help us give a better access to our patients. It's going to be able to analyze the massive data that's out there for a lot of these diseases, and we're going to be able to come up with new drugs. This week alone, major company came out saying, "Hey, we used all AI, and we're in stage 2 for this diagnosis. I'm sorry, for this medication because they used AI to be able to." Go through the research process a lot quicker, and they claimed that they were able to reduce costs by 90%. So, immediately when I saw that, I thought, wow, maybe drug companies are now going to start helping rare diseases, addressing things that maybe unfortunately didn't make financial sense for them, and that they're going to say, you know what, if we can reduce costs and get this to market, now it's an ability to use AI to take things to market. So I think that's just amazing. Um, Other things, obviously, I'm not going to go too much into AR, but what about just education? That's a gimme. There's physicians out there that have to travel, that live outside of the main cities, and they have to travel to the city to get training. Why not use AR or VR to help them practice? Some of the doctors, like I'm out 20 years, some of the procedures that I got checked off in residency, I haven't done. Not that I'm not a good doctor, it's just I haven't seen those patients. So why not use AR and VR to help me practice and get that to another level? In the healthcare world, obviously we're talking about education. So why not have our medical students, we the old adage is see one, do one, and teach one, or rather I got it messed up, but you know what I mean. Why not use VR and AR and these technologies to instead of practicing on a patient, do virtual practices so we can get there? Um, I'm gonna let the doctor do the presentation. I'm gonna skip over the VR part, but my whole goal is why not put all of these three together? Why not create a platform now that we're using AR, VR, and AI to get you guys excited? ChatGPT 4 has announced that obviously that you can take pictures and video, not videos, but pictures, and it is used as an input. They haven't released it to the general public because they don't have enough graphic cards to be able to handle the amount of machine power that they need to. But once they get there, pretty soon they'll release it. And so, as a practicality, what does that mean when they're able to add what's called multimodality, which is not just pictures, but let's just say video? When that day happens, you could have a VR connected to that system, and as you're looking at the X-ray, it's interpreting. As you're looking at the EKG, you have a peripheral brain literally looking at this and taking it to the next level. Now we're combining all three technologies to the next level, and I'm just super excited. And what if our words could automatically go into Midjourney and help us make a picture or a discharge or a diagram to help our patients be able to visualize? All of us out there, some of us are really good at visual cues and some of them are really good at listening. Why not use these technology to help us learn, to help us teach our patients? And so I'm really stoked about the future. Um, Remote surgery is another one. I worked at UTMB Medical School, and long story short, we saw a lot of prisoners, and we used a lot of telemedicine. Why not do remote surgery consultations instead of taking these high risk patients that from one jail to our medical school? Why not be able to do a lot of these things so that for safety reasons, we're not taking these prisoners outside? Other things that I see is, the big news lately has been empathy. What about empathy in the healthcare world? Um, Believe it or not, we spend all the science, we have it, but sometimes we're too short with our patients. Why not use ChatGPT to help us explain things better to our patients, but take it to the next level? I have some colleagues that unfortunately or fortunately, they have never left the state of Texas and they live in small towns and they work in small towns and that's where they want to be, but they haven't been exposed to all the different cultures and all the different things that are out there. And so when they speak to different patients, it's a little bit tough to them. So why not use AI to help them choose their words and train them in empathy? And then another part of it is, there's things that we just don't know. So why not, I just for giggles right before the not right before this talk, I said, hey, ChatGPT, if I want to help my patients, what things should I avoid saying to them? So it gave me a list of things that I should avoid. And I said, what kind of words should I use more often? And it gave me another list. So right off the bat, there's different ways of doing using AI. It's your personality and what you think you need, and there you are to the races. Diagnosis, treatment planning. Again, this would be another one that I see huge. Patients don't have our MD, RDO, or medical training. Why not walk them through on the VR world and teach them their disease process and tell them where they are and just explain it to them. That way they understand more why you're doing what you're doing. They're more likely to trust you, more likely to understand. Other things is I threw in this slide of robots. Believe it or not, at the end of the year, we're going to have Tesla and OpenAI are both coming out with their own robots, and that's a picture of the actual robot. I know that OpenAI is plugged to say that this is coming out at the end of the year. So think of the possibility if they are OpenAI and those eyes are connected to OpenAI AI, what if now you're able to take that input? What if the robot that will have tactile function, what if it can, and I know some of you guys are like, whoa, that's too far out, but it's coming. What if those tactile functions can to touch a patient's belly and say, yep, right upper quadrant, they flinch, they're able to see it and say, yeah, this is probably gallbladder, given the clinical vignette. And so these are things that are going to change our world. The other one is, I don't know if you guys know this, but the average nurse is 54 years old, and 19% of those nurses are 65 or older. So what does that mean in 10 years? If we keep it at this rate, that means that most of our nurses' average age is 64 in 10 years. I mean, that's really tough. And think of all the stuff and legwork and all the heavy lifting that literally that they're doing for us. That's going to be a hard strain on our social economic healthcare system. So we need some solutions. So I'm not advocating for this. I know people are like getting upset out there probably, but I'm saying, hey, what if we had a robot help us with some of our rehab patients, physical therapy, do some of the repetitive work, because we're going to have a huge strain on our healthcare system and we won't have enough nurses. Obviously, we won't have enough doctors. This may be a way of the future in helping people. Another thing, I'm almost done here with the slides, and then we'll be put on Dr. Grossman here in a few minutes. Wellness and preventative care. That's a big thing. But I mentioned earlier, why not use VR and AR to have our virtual reality where now it's customizing to me. So I'm combining all the things together. So say I have a bad left shoulder and I need to work on myself or work out, and then I'm using AI to make examples and make exercise programs for me. But then simultaneously, I'm using AR talking to my AI, and it's telling me what exercises, and it knows I have a bad left shoulder. So the exercises that it's making me do, because I'm seeing it in the augmented world, and it's telling me what to do. It knows that I really can't use my left shoulder. Maybe I shouldn't do a push-up. Maybe I should do a standing push-up. And so these are ways that we can put all these technologies together. And I really think that is going to be the future. Um, Next slide. So putting it all together, one of the other things I mentioned is education. Some of us out there, we see it and we just memorize it. Some of us, we hear it and we memorize it. What if I now combine it, AI, VR, all of it together, and now I'm able to give another experience? Now I can help our patients, like mental health, pain management, all these things coming together to help our patients, and obviously tying it into the EMR. So in conclusion, I'm really excited about the future with all these technologies. I'm excited to be part of this history. I'm a little jealous. I wish I was a little younger so I could enjoy and do this more. But that's basically it. So I'm gonna put up here, Dr. Grossman. I'm gonna take this slide down, and I already put a video of you. Thank you for coming, Dr. Grossman, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Harry. It's my pleasure and really honored to be here and share with your audience and interact with them. I chose not to do any slides. Because of the timing of this, and I'm post call in my third consecutive night. But also, I really wanted to chat. All the audience is pretty much, I'm pretty sure, very knowledgeable on the intersection of technology and healthcare, and they're all familiar with XR, VR, AR, MR, AI, generative AI, large language models, robotic assisted surgery. So I don't want to, present a nice AI adorned a bunch of slides, but rather share insights and experiences and learn from them. So really, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome, Doc. So I'll start taking comments from the bottom here. But as I'm starting to go through the questions and see it, if you wanted to start, what do you think of combining AI and VR? What are your thoughts right now? Just big picture in healthcare. What kind of applications do you see?
Well, I really think that AI, but specifically, generative AI, which is a completely different animal, right? I earlier yesterday, I sent a basic tweet comparing, AI is a monkey and generative AI is really a smart human, right? It's the evolution of the AI and the platform. I really see AI as an enhancement to anything and everything we do, and it's not a substitution. It's just an augmentation of the human capabilities for anything. VR, AR, any computing activity or non-computing activity we do, it can be improved upon by the use of generative AI. We finally have the algorithm become smarter, but also it talks like us in a way and learns faster. And obviously, you're all familiar with the concept of GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out is about what data we use to train the system, and from inaccurate or not factual data to biased and non-equitable or inclusive or diverse data will give you the same equivalent answer. So we got to be very careful how we train the system. But in general, I think that VR with AI. So imagine the possibilities where you have a computer generated environment, right? And the environment is enhanced by, let's say, you're measuring your vital signs, right? Measuring your electrical brain activity with an EEG a device like the Muse or equivalent, or is monitoring and getting data about your pulse or your heart rate or your you call it a galvanic skin resistance to measure stress, anything, and puts that all together based on past information and checks the level of performance that you're doing, and maybe increases the difficulty of the task that you're trying to learn, and becomes the perfect trainer, because the perfect coach only making you better and better and better and better before you jump into, let's say, a surgical procedure. So I think the possibilities are only limited by our very narrow and short non-AI imagination, which I shouldn't have said that. That's what we have versus AI. We have the power of a creation, of imagination, of coming from zero to everything. We really have the power to in a way humanize and giving that a synthetic algorithm a human face. That is our role. It's not better, it's not worse. We know the combination of the algorithm and the human is what really makes the almost godlike, I would say, a system.
Yeah, love it. Well, I'm gonna start putting some of the pictures here or questions, and then everyone out there just start asking questions. Here's your opportunity. It's kind of rare that we have two doctors here to be able to answer, so ask away. This first one just says the ability to reach people where they are at using language and visuals they understand is the perfect practice of AI. Love it. So thank you, and everybody. There's a lot of listeners out there. Thanks for coming. Let's see the next one. I'm just gonna start showing some of the comments. Agree, exciting opportunity for the advancement and accessibility. Another person, just over an hour ago, OpenAI announced ChatGPT release for all paid APIs.
Any questions out there that we can
Yeah,
start?
let's ask questions. Let me go through. Looking for questions. Everyone's just commenting, but take advantage of this opportunity. I'm sure now that I said that, people will start
You can
posting
throw a
it.
question, Harvey, and what do you think?
Yeah, I wanna see in your mind, what are some of the limitations as far as getting implemented? Is it financial? Is it these products too expensive? Is it the administrators? What do you think are some of the kind of things that are holding us back to really just jumping in there and just having VR everywhere?
You're talking specifically about VR or
Yeah, VR, AR, just like in your practice to use it in surgery, I'd love to see what you're doing everywhere, but I feel like a lot of hospitals still are holding back. So what's the holdup? I'm not a surgeon,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
wanna ask a surgeon.
Yeah, no, I think that we've made a lot of progress over the last maybe 2 or 3 years for sure, but tremendous progress. I mean, price was always a limitation and still is, depending on the system where you work, right? But more and more, you see that things, price are coming down. The system is exponentially becoming faster, better, smaller, smarter, right? And the first Oculus device was $3,000-4,000, and now it's like $299, right? And is exponentially better than the first device. So I think price is really not an issue anymore, globally speaking, right? There are ways to get devices that are $299 to places in the U.S. People always talk about Africa, Latin America. Now in the U.S., very areas that don't spend a dime without having for sure a return on investment on that dime. So anywhere where the system is not financially abundant, you have an issue still. But again, the prices are coming down. There are ways to and especially incredible solutions out there, incredible companies out there who are making this available, because it's a win-win situation. The system gets more in the hands of people, and they actually, improve their business model. So obviously, education, I think that's something like this, right? Like I am a full-time surgeon. I'm a clinician, general surgery. I do general surgery and acute care surgery and trauma surgery, including, minimally invasive robotic surgery. I sort of do it all in a way because that's the way I chose to be. And my full-time job is that, but in addition to that, I'm sort of have another full-time surgeon being a sort of an advocate for how technology can be used smartly to improve how we learn, how we teach, how we do healthcare. And every couple of months I go somewhere. I speak at a conference, or I advise a few companies, and what I see is that if we don't do that, if we who are on the trenches, let's say, the providers, the physicians, the nurses, if we are not telling people about this, educating people about this, changing the culture about this, then it will not happen. So education is another barrier that is very, very prominent today. And also, following close to that is regulation, right? So how do we, how do we regulate this? If you're doing like some virtual reality or mixed reality telesurgery, for example, right? So the liability of this, the system is so behind in regards to regulatory parameters that we need to focus on that. And the good news is that in many places, I know in Europe for sure, I know in the US for sure, with an incredible new generation of FDA leaders, they are really getting technology really, really out there and quickly, changing how we do this kind of implementation of things that were only magic 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The pandemic obviously helped, but before the pandemic, it was already becoming very much like that. So I would say that education and culture and regulation are maybe the main two issues that I see, because everything else is very quickly fixable, quickly in the relative term of the word.
Got it. I'm just gonna go down the list and I start all the questions. So I got a bunch now. I'm gonna go with this and we'll just keep going. I says, I'm curious, what do you see in 1 to 3 years out with regard to interruption by AI in the neural pathways? And what specific ethical considerations and metrics are you focused on with regard to potential outcomes with the human psyche of the patient?
Great. Let me read this again, okay? Because
I know it's a little complicated.
What is in 3 years? Interruption by AI in neural pathways, and what specific ethical considerations and metrics? Well, I'm not sure what it means by interruption by AI in neural pathways. I really would love to.
I don't know either, but I'm going more with the ethical consideration and metrics. I guess to your point, obviously we need guardrails. We're going to need to have the right leaders, and when I say leaders, I think doctors like us that understand it, but to have more doctors to understand this information so that we can help. But I'm gonna have them see if they want to add, and I'll add the next question.
Yeah, maybe they can
Clarify
the question, because it's a very interesting question, and I do think that obviously again, regulation and we need to adapt the way we think about it. In this particular case, AI. AI it's as good as we make it, as bad as we make it, and that goes all the way from creators to regulators, and we need to make sure that these tools that have and give us immense power, really bring immense responsibility as well. So we need to work on that.
The other question from Doug, he says, what AI tool do you recommend for the initial medical health information? I honestly am not following. I know, Doug, I don't know what he's asking. What AI tool do you recommend for the initial medical health information?
Yeah, it's a little vague, the question. And thank you for the question. It's great. I think it's great. I think that I mean, we're talking generative AI, right?
Yeah,
Any tool for generative AI. I think that ChatGPT might be in the US at least the most accessible, the newest, the more sexy one. But there are many. The Bing algorithms from Microsoft, Google. There are others out there that are being created specifically for healthcare. I think that nowadays it's so early on that I would just jump with ChatGPT, paid or unpaid, on a smartphone, and just start playing with it. And I personally, since it started, everything I do, I try to really do again
with the input of AI, generative AI, and try to compare. And it is as good as we make it. So I did, because it's areas that I have expertise on, surgery wise, and healthcare wise, and prevention wise, and education wise, in surgery. So I know that if the system tells me something that is wrong, I pick it up, and then I ask the question again. Well, you said that this is not really true, and the system will correct itself. Oh, apologize, you're right. And then it gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
And you keep all those conversations, and you create amazing protocols or guidelines or patient instructions. It's really phenomenal, I think.
Yeah. Another question, and it's basically AI is known for hallucinating and will happily make up stuff. How do you rein that in when it comes to answering healthcare questions so it doesn't offer bad guidance? I'll
Well,
start off by just saying I would highly encourage you to use ChatGPT 4 verse 3.5. And then, like Dr. Grossman just said, garbage in, garbage out. So the way you ask your question will also determine how it comes out. What else do you think, Doc?
yeah, it's pretty much what I mentioned in the past answer, right? It's really about having the human expertise in the particular topic. Check the recommendation, the answer, the output. And specifically for this topic, we're good at that. We know, we've studied that. We are sort of experts, right, in surgery, right, in my case, and Harvard, your specialty. So we can pick up. I wouldn't just let just go to ChatGPT and whatever the system says, just do. That is absolutely not the way to go, because the system is very far from perfect. And remember, It's
Exactly.
not the AI that is better than the human. It's the human with the AI that is better than the AI, right? So that is
Exactly.
the answer, I think.
Next question. What do you think of the FDA approach to general AI? Will it be, or should it be, or added to VR, Doc? What do you think? What should the
Well,
approach be from the FDA? Should we change a little bit the way we do things so we can get things to market, or?
Well, no, I think that the FDA, like I said, is becoming very, very much up with the times, and they are, for example, there's a digital health center of excellence. There is committees on AI for healthcare. They're working very hard on this, and it's all today in a very early preparatory phase, where they're experts from the industry, from the industry, meaning the commercial interest. There are representatives from the government, there are representatives from the medical industry, there are representatives from the actual sort of technology companies that create the algorithms, all working into what is the best way to do this. And remember, it's not something that we can in isolation regulate. I think it's very complicated, because it's something that is like the internet, right? It's global and it's universal, and it's got so much potential for good, but it's got so much potential for bad, and we need to really, really be careful how we, from in general, talking about large language models to large language models in healthcare. I think that we have to be very careful, and I think the FDA is certainly working on this. There's not specific conclusive output from those conversations yet that I know, but I know that is very, very an aggressive topic that they are working on.
So here's an Apple question. What opportunities do you see for the new Apple glasses in
Right.
practice of and training in medicine? That's perfect, Doc.
Well, it's just fascinating. I think that the fact that the Vision Pro is coming out pretty soon, for developers, and then later on, maybe the beginning of next year, for the general public, or even the general enterprise, right? I think that is going to be phenomenal. It's not different than the Oculus Pro. Is not different than the Pico Headset 4. It's not different than Magic Leap 2 or the HoloLens 2 or the View 6 or the A3 from Lenovo or the Vario. It's no different, but it's Apple. So I think that the fact that it's Apple, I haven't tried the system. I've in depth investigated the system. I have already, thank God, and I feel blessed in conversations with Apple to really be involved in the early phases of its application in medicine. But I haven't tried it myself. What you read is phenomenal, apparently, and I can't imagine it's not true anymore, because the system came out and a lot of people have tried it. Right? I think that the fact that it's Apple, more than the fact that it's phenomenal, will really impulse and catapult the maybe the understanding, and people will maybe embrace this, because it's like I want to get the newest iPhone. Well, I want to get the newest Vision Pro, even if, and then we'll start really juggling, what do I use this for? And in healthcare, from education and training and simulation to diagnostics to therapeutics to rehabilitation, the whole gamut of healthcare is improved already. We know it by virtual reality, and also we are getting to learn as well by augmented or mixed reality, XR, the extended reality ecosystem in general. It is proven. It's not an idea, which is maybe. It is proven. It's documented. It's validated. There are thousands of papers that validate the use of VR, for example, for treatment, and the same thing is happening with outcomes, cost, engagement, satisfaction from the provider and from the patient side in regards to the use of XR system in surgery, for example, or in training. So it's really a pretty exciting, and I think that Apple again is just gonna make this a more thing out there that everyone knows about, rather than if you don't know Meta, if you don't know Oculus, not everyone knows Oculus. You ask a regular person, have you ever tried an Oculus? And most people say no, to tell you the truth, depending on where you live.
Sure.
But most people don't. So
yeah, unless you have kids or teenagers that are asking for this for Christmas. Next question from Dr. Torres. What's stopping AI and VR from stealing all the jobs and kicking us to the curb? You kind of talked about it, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what,
Yeah.
doctors, I think that what is stopping that is us, right? Us. We are stopping it because, it's like, when the horses came out, people say, I mean, when the cars came out, right? People say, yeah, this is never going to fly. Well, the horses are horses, and we use horses for everything. And now, horses are horses. So I think that, just like someone who is a farmer today, right? Is not the same farmer from 100 years ago or 50 years ago or even 15 years ago. The farmer hasn't disappeared. The farmer has evolved. So it's not about AI or technology is substituting or displacing us. We are going to have to evolve with AI, and only the ones in any profession, but talking about medicine, only the medical providers who do not embrace the technology will be the ones who will be displaced. We are providing the magnificent, beautiful, spiritual, ethical humanity to a system that is much better than us to do a lot of the objective stuff that we wasted millions of years, trying to do ourselves. Just like, why would you, try to solve a square root problem where you can type, boom, 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 and get the answer right away? Same thing with an AI algorithm. So it's not that we're going to disappear. We're going to evolve, and that goes for any specialty. Obviously, some specialties is more obvious, specialties that are, visual, the dermatology, radiology, pathology, all those are already different than they were 5 years ago, and it will continue all the way down to eventually surgeons. That and we already transforming the way we act, because a lot of the stuff we do is in a way guided by basic AI, and more is going to be guided by a generative AI or large language models.
And I'm just going to add to that. I wouldn't worry in the sense that there's only about 5,000 doctors that have been actually trained in AI and all this artificial intelligence. So I would encourage you, the fact that you're here, the fact that you're learning, you'll be a representative at your local hospital. You'll be able to do more. So you're not going to be able to be replaced. Remember also, what if AI goes down? What if there's no internet? What if it hallucinates? I mean, it needs a human being and the empathy in our field. Obviously, we have Dr. Grossman. He works with his hands. He's a surgeon. So it's going to be really hard to take away that finesse that he has and that trust factor. The other part of it is patients, are they going to go to a robot equivalent, or do they want to spend time with a doctor that's going to be empathetic? So I wouldn't be scared of the technology. I would just embrace it. And if anything, be a leader, because pretty soon what he said is going to change. It's going to be doctors that use the AI better than other doctors are the ones that are going to be the leaders, and the ones that are really not using it that well are the ones that are going to be replaced by those doctors that are more efficient. I really like this next question, and I'll jump in on it. It basically says, how do you see adoption of these technologies in a clinical world? Will the doctor believe in a recommendation given by LLMs or large language models? Who will be responsible for wrong recommendations, which can create patient safety issues? And I'll tell you right now, ultimately, like anything else, our stethoscope, our mobile phone, up to date, these responsibilities, as we take it in, it's ultimately going to fall back on the doctor until these things become what's called the standard of care. At that point, in my opinion, that is when things will change, where maybe we can sue the manufacturer, OpenAI, or sue e-power docs or whoever EMR that you're using. But until then, ultimately, remember, you're the guy or woman running the ship. You're the one, you're the leader. You're the one that has to take in that information. And so ultimately, you'll be responsible. Doctor, any other comments about that one?
No, I agree. It's at the end is the responsibility of the provider, right? For anything, a surgeon or a non-surgeon physician, it's our responsibility. And again, the regulation has to evolve so that where the chain of I don't want to say the chain of guilt, but where the liability lays. But it's like anything else, if you're operating on a robotic device, on an effector, right? A device like Da Vinci, for example, or CMR or Versus or Medtronic or whatever, and the machine suddenly goes crazy. I mean, who's responsible for that? So it's not very clear yet, the regulation. At the end is going to be obviously the surgeon, the provider, but all those things are going to evolve to not be an issue, I think. And I really wouldn't worry too much. It's like doing laparoscopic surgery. You use a device or you use a cautery, and suddenly maybe there's a malfunction of the cautery and there's a fire in the oil. I mean, who do you blame, right? So at the end, there are protocols and there are steps to take to make things safe as we can. There always with the chance for errors and for problems, but I think that worrying about the badness or the guilt, liability is probably not the best approach, but obviously we have to obviously do that as well.
Yeah, great transition. It's basically a spin-off of what we're talking about. Are you worried about the legal ramifications and malpractice insurance costs as we implement AI into practice of healthcare? Legal framework needs to catch up with technology.
Yeah, I'm not really worried. Like I said in the last answer, I think that the whole system is evolving, and things are going to evolve from the medical power point of view, from the regulatory legal perspective. Things are going to evolve, and we're going to have ways to deal with this, and it'll be just like the standard of care. Maybe today is doing a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, right? Removal of the gallbladder with a laparoscope. It's sort of the standard of care at least in the US, right? I think the standard of care will be, so years ago when telemedicine was starting, right? Years ago, I was a speaker at one of the big conferences. It wasn't HIMSS. It was a conference called eHealth, I believe it was, and then it migrated into a different conference. Doesn't matter. But that was I was giving a talk on telemedicine, and there was a panel, including a lawyer, very expert back then in telemedicine. And the lawyer said, so someone asked the same question. So if something goes wrong with the telemedicine interaction, how many cases have there been? And the lawyer quickly said there've been, I think, 3 cases, and the 3 cases where the patient sued because telemedicine was not used. Imagine. So not because telemedicine was used and there was a problem, but because telemedicine should have been, maybe the patient, got into a car crash, going to an appointment where the appointment shouldn't have happened because the patient could have been seen at home, via a remote camera. So I think it's sort of the same. It's a little bit of an equivalent to what you're saying. I think that things will evolve to a place where it'll be standard of care to do many things. It's almost already a standard of care. If you are in an EMR and suddenly you get a clinical decision system, right, an alert, and you block it, or you are liable for that. If you block it and the patient should be getting VTE, venous thromboembolic prophylaxis with heparin or whatnot, and you just block it because you don't want to even think about that. And something happens, you are technically liable because that is an AI sort of clinical decision algorithm in a way, and you didn't embrace the recommendation. So we have to evolve with the system, I think.
Yeah, well said. For XR developers, what approach do you recommend for grabbing the attention of influencers, decision makers within healthcare organizations to initiate meaningful conversations?
I think that is vital that XR developers are working at pair, right, with providers, with healthcare providers. I mean, you can really develop a healthcare, a successful healthcare, and I say healthcare in general, right? And we're talking medicine, right? A solution or platform or application without the very, very, very close a orientation and advising of a healthcare provider. Almost 15 years ago, I sort of jumped into this field because I felt the responsibility, like I said before, responsibility to help shape that future that I was imagining, 15, 20 years ago. And I've been blessed to have great opportunities from start doing TED Talks on technology and healthcare, and I've done a bunch of them, and having the responsibility to share that message, to then getting a lot of companies reach out to me to become an advisor, formal or informal advisor. We have limited time, so at some point you have to be formal advisor, and you have a contract and you get paid for your time or your effort or whatnot. But I think that without the advice and the guidance of a surgeon, if you're going to do a surgical platform, you're not going to succeed. I think that you need to have representatives from every aspect of where the platform will go, from regulation, from marketing, from the technical part, the medical part. I think that that's very important, and having conversations is the start, and things like this is what start the conversations. And that's why I'm very active in Twitter and LinkedIn, and I have a website that is educational, just to start the conversation, because for me it's about the patients. My main job is being a surgeon, and all the other stuff is secondary, and I feel really a lot of passion for that. But for me to be helpful to creating a system that is going to at the end help my patients, it's just as rewarding as having a good outcome on a patient.
Got it. Dr. Grossman from Dr. Torres, thank you so much. Very well said, well explained. Thank you for clarifying. We'll go to the next. Great point, Dr. Castro. Consider how brunt of the fines of HIPAA were pushed into the provider side. I see that point. I'm excited about Apple Pro MetaQ Quest 3 because of the vastly improved fidelity of the pass-through video that makes them far more practical for augmented and mixed reality applications. Thank you, Robert.
Absolutely. Well said, Robert.
Daniel, I'm also interested in your thoughts on MedPalm 2, a large language model from Google Research designed for the medical domain. Do you think it has the potential to be a valuable tool for healthcare professionals and patients alike? Actually, I was reading the research paper and I was blown away. When we get to play with MedPalm 2, I'm changing my tune. I'm actually impressed with it, and I think it's going to be a better tool. But I don't know until I play with it. But I think I'm going to fair and say I think it's going to be a better tool in healthcare instead of ChatGPT when it comes to the clinical knowledge, based on the research studies that I have read. Doc, what do you think about MedPalm 2?
Yeah, I haven't used it obviously, on as nearly as much as ChatGPT because of the availability. But I read a lot about it and I've discussed it in several scenarios. And like I said, we are going to create the system that is going to be better for what we do and what we need, and that's why we need to involve in that process. Like I said, I started talking, to Apple in order to see how do we use the Vision Pro, for surgery, for healthcare in general. Same thing. I think that involving the clinicians is super important. You see things like MedPalm 2. You see, when you read about, ambient clinical intelligence, which is sort of Google is also working on that, and Microsoft and Nuance, the creators of Dragon dictation system, have years ago now creating this sort of ambient clinical intelligence where everything is sort of spontaneously, and you have also an algorithm behind that is recognizing everything by voice and image recognition, and sort of creating a whole documentation of what's happening, freeing us from having to do that boring stuff that we hate, and just letting us be better human doctors and connect and communicate better with the patients. All of that, it's the more we adapt it to what we want, the better it's going to be. And I have no doubt that MedPalm 2 is gonna be a winner. But just like that one, there are going to be many others. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be, because it's so easy, and then you can use the system to create other systems. And I read recently, in 5 years, coders are going to disappear. I do very little coding, and I always was ashamed and frustrated that I couldn't code more. But now I say, you can code anything in a system like ChatGPT-4, maybe not everything or anything. And you have to, like I said, there are hallucinations and mistakes. You have to be good at it to be able to recognize what's good and what's not, or what's right or not. But at the end, the system is going to be so good because of the training of the system that you won't need, for example, coders or not coders at that level. They won't disappear. They will evolve, right?
Yeah. Well, I know you said you had a hard stop coming up, so I'm gonna ask if anyone want to sneak in any last quick question. If not, just because we were talking about MedPalm 2 on July 20th, I'm actually having the representative from Portugal that does Google Cloud talk about MedPalm 2 and other AI products with Google, so that'll be exciting. And then, Doc, do you have any other closing statements? Anything you want to share? I love your presentation. I got on YouTube and I was looking. I took that video from you that you have on your website. I didn't want to bother you, so I just took it down and then I put it up. Awesome work. So, and I love that video. But I think it was Next Stage Health or Next Health. That was amazing.
Yeah. Next Med Health, which is an excellent conference out there in Coronado near San Diego every year. Daniel Kraft's conference. It used to be Exponential Medicine in the past. Thank you. It's it's a pleasure to be here. I think that we are in very exciting times. You were saying that you're sorry you're not too young. I mean, you're super young, and we have many years ahead of us. And I think that what's happening right now is magic, and we're going to improve our care for patients in such a much better way and much faster than we did in the past. And we're going to be sorry that we wasted so much time in the last few decades. I think that we need to obviously recognize that the humanity that we have, our empathy, our compassion are the most important tools of a provider, of a physician. Once in a while, I tweet that, it's a picture I did that says, the most important qualities of a physician are compassion and empathy. And that will never be substituted by an AI algorithm. Never. Because, never say never, right? But at least for a long time, because those are the things that really make us what we are. And that's what makes us the natural pairing of an AI algorithm, the human exactly. That really makes that human AI entity unbeatable in every field. All right. So
hey Doc, I was going to ask you, can you give your website so everybody can go to your Twitter and your website? Because I love your website. It's very well done.
Thank you. I put it on the chat, but it was
I think when you put it in the chat, you put it in the private chat. Let me just copy it.
Yeah, because I couldn't do the other chat for some reason.
Oh, really? That's weird. I'm going to drop it right now. I just dropped your comments on the chat. So it's there.
It's myname.com. My name, Rafael Grossmann, with 2 S's and 2 N's.com, or myname.health. And my Twitter, it's ZGJR, which is my initials backwards, Rafael Jose Grossmann Zamora, because I'm from Venezuela. And my LinkedIn, you can find it. So those are the platforms that I use. And again, happy to connect for anything and everything, and to be available to engage and change what we do. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc. I really appreciate it. And then thank you. And I'm gonna, if you want to answer this last one, it's about prompt engineering. Basically, can you share your insights on prompt engineering? If not, I can answer this one.
I was just talking about this to a group of intern students that we have here at the hospital, high school and college students that are thinking about healthcare. And I was telling them, one of the newest, hottest professions out there in the last 3 months is prompt engineering, because you are the guardrails. You are the gatekeepers of what, garbage in, garbage out. You are the innkeepers. You are the ones who protect what goes in. If you don't ask the right question, and after the answer, you don't look at the answers and ask the question again, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and improve that prompt to the level of getting a magnificent answer, then you're not going to get that answer. So prompt engineering is a phenomenal field out there, and I think it's exciting. And I just try to read and do as much and use it as much to become a prompt engineer by honorary prompt engineer. I think it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, my 2 cents real quick is you're the best prompt engineers because you're doctors and you know what garbage in versus garbage out. So you're going to put better information. You're going to put clinical things that make sense, and you're going to put it in the right medical terminology in there, and you're going to get a better output. Yeah. So Doc, let's do it again. I know you're busy. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing lots of extra stuff. We have a talk coming up on ethics on the 10th on Monday, and then the big one it's going to be Google. We'll have on the 20th. So feel free to just go on LinkedIn and type in Harvey Castro, and you'll see the event. And I'll try to put it in the notes. But thanks everybody for coming. This was fun. I'm going to try to have some more guests come and talk about healthcare and AI and healthcare and how we can do things better. So. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn mostly, and if you have any questions, just ask away. So I'm gonna hit this right here, and